What's up, YouTube? HPJ here, and I'm coming at you guys with a brand new deck profile. And it is a physical deck profile, so it's IRL, and it is the Gravekeepers. So it took a while to get a lot of the cards, primarily because I needed to get the cards offline, and they took longer than expected because when I did first get the cards, I oopsie daisied and missed some essential monsters in spells and traps. So it did take a while. So this is pretty much my variation of Gravekeepers. I'm only missing legitimately one like extra deck setup monster. But you'll practically see who it is when we go to the extra deck. So there was a lot of name changes with a lot of the cards. I'm not too happy with the name changes. I'm not even gonna lie. So yeah, let's just get right through this. So for the monster lineup, I'm running 3 copies of Gravekeeper's Headman. I'm running 3 copies of Gravekeeper's Spiritualist. I'm running 3 copies of Gravekeeper's Descendant. 3 copies of Gravekeeper's Recruiter. 3 copies of Gravekeeper's Spy. 3 copies of Gravekeeper's Commandant. And 1 copy of Malefic Stardust Dragon. And that's all of my monsters. For my spells, I'm running 3 copies of Necrovalley, 3 copies of Necrovalley Throne, 3 copies of Gravekeeper Stelly, 1 copy of Hidden Tombs of Necrovalley, and 1 copy of Royal Tribute. For the rest of the spells, I'm running 2 copies of Allure Darkness, 1 copy of Raigeki, and 1 copy of Darkhold. And for my traps, I'm running a set of Necrovalley Temple, and I'm running 1 Solemn Strike, 1 Solemn Warning, and 1 Solemn Judgment. So that is it for the main deck. 40 cards in total. For my extra, I'm running 3 copies of Gravekeeper's Supernaturalist, 2 copies of Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon, 1 copy of Stardust Dragon, 1 copy of Wee Witch's Apprentice, and 1 copy of Decode Talker. And then for the rest of the deck, I'm running 1 Castell, 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 Cowboy, 1 Steel Swarm Roach, 1 number 66, 1 number 60, 1 number 101, and 1 106. So it is a lot of cards. I'm not even gonna lie. There's a lot of changes to names that it also took me a while to find a lot of the cards. So I had to like type in the set number and everything to get them. So Gravekeeper's Headman. This was Gravekeeper's Cleric. If this card was summoned, you target a level 4 Gravekeeper monster. You either special summon it in attack mode or face down defense position, and its effect cannot be negated by Necrovalley. So, or was unaffected by Necrovalley. This was Gravekeeper's Cleric. It's a very essential card to the Gravekeepers, especially because of the fact that it gets the level 4s. So you can reset up stuff with Spy, you can reset up, you can summon Descending and pop their Headband to get rid of a card. But you're really going to use it when in terms of the next monster, Gravekeeper Spiritualist. She was the only one that didn't get a name change. Ironically, the fusion and the fusion, the spell, the trap, and cleric all got a name change. Spiritualist, she didn't. Level 4 spellcaster, 1500 attack, 1500 defense. While you control Necrovalley once a turn, you can fusion summon a spellcaster type fusion monster using monsters who are listed on a fusion monster that can include her in the fusion summon. and you use cards in your hand or field to do the fusion summon. But you're going to use her effect once per turn. So there is another deck that I am in the process of working on, or you have seen it before, and that was the one with the Shaddolls. You can use Gravekeeper Spiritualist with Necrovalley to summon Shaddol Winda, and Winda's ability to slow down special summons. So in turn, you would summon your S. You would find a way to get to a link monster like We Witches and Princess. You put her on the board. You go for You can either go for Winda and then wait next turn to go into um, Esper, or you go into Esper, then you wait out to go into Winda, and then Winda would set up there. It's a lot of decks. I have to show you guys that again because I have to update it now since we have a new list. But yeah, your tactic with her is to make spiritualist. I mean supernaturalist. I hate I hate the name. And I'm sure we have an Esper monster, so I don't understand why Gravekeeper's Esper was so hard to do. But yeah, so that's the two new monsters for Gravekeeper. Then of course the old school guys. 3 Descendant to pop stuff. 3 Recruiter. This is your Witch of the Black Forest. 15 or less defense Gravekeeper monster will be added to your hand when this card is sent to the graveyard from the field. 3 Gravekeeper Spy, your special summoner, to get any Gravekeeper monster. I believe with 15 or less defense. No, 15 or yeah, 15 or less attack and summon it to the field. Which isn't too bad because you got a lot of targets with this. I think the only one they can't get is Chief, but that's perfectly fine because you can search out Chief with Recruiter and then summon and then go get another Gravekeeper. And then Gravekeeper's Commandant, which is pretty much your field cell searcher for Necrovalley. This was actually one of the harder cards I had to find because I couldn't find them from any of the Gravekeeper monsters from Merrick's structure deck. Then I had to go look for these cards from the original pack. These are the Forbidden. These are FOTB of Force of the Breaker. So I was really lucky to find these, and these were not cheap. So yeah, that is pretty much the Gravekeepers themselves. And then of course the Malefic Stardust Dragon. For those who have not played Malefic World, the Necrovalley skill drain deck, pretty much this guy defended your field spells. If there was no field spell, he would destroy himself. But the easiest requirement is banish a Stardust Dragon in your extra deck, so this will summon him to the board. And he was the only one that can attack. Malefic monsters are the only ones that can attack. You only control, I believe, one Malefic monster at a time, and this one was one of the best because it was the field spell searcher. Your other one is Malefic Cyber End Dragon. It's only because it's a 4,000 attacker, which isn't that bad. I am still looking for a Malefic Cyber End Dragon, so I'm looking very close to that. But that's pretty much my monster lineup. As far as the spells, your main card is this card, Necrovalley. It has had its massive changes, and you are going to enjoy this card because this card is really, really beneficial. It stops everything now. Anything that would trigger in the graveyard, it's going to stop. Anything that would try to return itself to the deck or put itself to the board, negate it. You can't banish anything from the graveyard, nothing. Everything now stopped thanks to Necrovalley. And this card is very viable. I don't know why a lot of people aren't running it. I guess because of the fact that it's still a fill spell, so you have to search for it. Unless you're running Gravekeeper's Commandant. But yeah, that is Necrovalley. 500 attack and defense increase to all monsters that are Gravekeeper. And, shut everything down that it's in the graveyard. All the Gravekeeper monsters, for the most part, can get over this card's effect. If they're trying to summon each other from the graveyard, put cards back in the deck or in the hand from the graveyard. So, that's them. 3 copies of Necrovalley Tomb. This was called Sacred Throne of Necrovalley. I'm sorry. This is Necrovalley's throne. So it has 2 effects. You can activate immediately after this card resolves. You can give additional normal summon of a Gravekeeper monster, or you search your deck for a Gravekeeper monster. So it's a Rhoda and a double summon in one for the Gravekeepers. You can only use the effect of this card one. You can only use one of the effects per turn, which is perfectly fine. But for the most part, you're searching for your Gravekeepers. If not, you're using your big guy to search for this card to search for your Gravekeeper cards. And it's a really good it's a really good setup card as well because you can go into Spy. You can go into recruiters, visionaries, and stuff like that, and just thin out your deck even more. Following up with that, the Gravekeeper Stelly, just to retrieve your guys from the graveyard, and this effect cannot be negated by Necrovalley. So you're really set with this as another way to get your monsters back to hand, especially after the fusion summon. Um, One Hidden Tomb, run Royal Tribute. So Royal Tribute do not get exchange or any additional text to say this card is a Necrovalley card, thank God. Um, it's pretty much the biggest hand disruption card next to card destruction now. Which ironically is backed in the TCG, but it's still a viable card. The Tomb of Necrovalley. Let's talk about this card. So while this card is on the field, you need to control both Necrovalley and a Gravekeeper monster. Only Gravekeeper monsters can be special summoned while this card remains on the field. And if the monster is destroyed or Necrovalley is destroyed, um, no, it's removed from the field, you destroy this card. So you can't play this card unless you control a Gravekeeper in the Necrovalley, and then Necrovalley or the Gravekeeper monster destroy this card. This is a really good card against a lot of decks. It's just you have to go into it, search for it, and all that. Um, I was debating on running multiple copies of this, maybe two instead of one, just because it's a good out to a lot of decks in the format, because it'll slow down a lot of decks that special summon, a lot of decks that special summon nothing that isn't a Gravekeeper, because unless you're playing Mirror Match, that's about it. And just a little bit on Royal Tribute. Royal Tribute was limited right after the time Gravekeeper spiked up. That was when we got Gravekeeper Recruiter, Merrick Structure deck, and Gravekeepers was a really good anti-meta. It was really good in a lot of cases because then it transformed itself into the Necro Skill Drain Malefic deck that pretty much was you played Skill Drain, you summoned you summoned all your Malefic monsters, you had Necrovalley, so your opponents, a lot of decks that revolved around Graveyard were shut down because of Necrovalley. So, yeah, that's Gravekeepers. Um, the rest of the stuff, Gravekeepers need draw power, so we have Allure Darkness. I could run a full set of Allure, but I couldn't get any more after that, so I'm just rocking the two of Raigeki and Dark Hole, massive monster removal, and you have a lot of protection from your own cards anyway, so these two won't hurt you at all. And then for the rest of this, and now for the traps, Tombs of Necrovalley. So if you don't control Necrovalley, you can activate this card and add Necrovalley um, from. Yeah, if you control no card in your field zone, you can add Necrovalley directly to your field, or Necrovalley. Yeah, from your hand or graveyard. This effect cannot be negated by Necrovalley. Oh yeah, because it's pretty much putting Necrovalley onto the board. Um, but it gives 500 attack and defense. No, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm reading this card wrong. When you control a Gravekeeper monster in Necrovalley, your opponent's monsters lose 500 attack and defense, which is great because with Necrovalley giving you the additional 500 attack and defense, um, it's pretty much 1,000 difference in points. Then, during your main phase, if Necrovalley is in your hand or graveyard, you can activate it right away. So if you have, as long as you have nothing in your field spell zone, so that's a really good beneficial way right there to deal with stuff. And then if this card is destroyed in your possession by your opponent's card effect, you can insert to the graveyard. You can easily go and add a Necrovalley card and set it to the field, whether it's a spell or a trap. So it's really good for the defense. It's really good for the offense, and I enjoy having this card. I'm surprised a lot of the Gravekeeper stuff was super and less. Like the rares were what two of the monsters in the trap card. The spell is a super, and the fusion monster is the fusion setup is in spiritualist. She's a common. So it really just ties in with a lot of stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if they all got higher rarity um, later on. But in addition to that, I don't have the quick place, the counter trap, the Sacred Tomb of Necrovalley, so I'm just rocking Solemns. I can rock Red Reboot. I can put in Dark Bribes and stuff like that just to counter a lot of other things. For the most part, this is just what I had on hand. So it's not too bad. It's not too shabby, but there are a lot of other options and stuff you can add into it. So let's talk about the extra deck. I'm not liking the fact that they call him Gravekeeper Spiritualist. I mean Supernaturalist when there's Esper Girl and she's a psychic. Okay. Whatever. Anyway, Gravekeeper Supernaturalist, fusion monster. Needs two Gravekeeper monsters. When this card is fusion summoned, the attack and defense of this monster increases based on the level of the two monsters used for its fusion summon. So Spiritualist being a 4, dump someone like Recruiter, that's 7, so that's 1400 points. And bam, that's at least 3400 attack and defense on Spiritualist. While Spiritualist is on the field with Necrovalley, Necrovalley cannot be destroyed, and Spiritualist cannot be destroyed. So that's even more bonuses, I believe. 100 points for the fusion summon. Okay, so that's 700 attack and defense, so that's 27 points. While Necrovalley is on the field, and this card is on the field, your opponent cannot destroy this card by request, and yeah, your opponent cannot destroy, uh, can be destroyed by card effects during your main phase. You can add, during your end phase, you can add a Gravekeeper monster or a Necrovalley card from your deck to your hand. You don't use the effect of Spiritualist once per turn, but that's perfectly fine. So this is pretty much your big guy. This is pretty much your boss monster, for Gravekeepers, which is weird because we had Visionary, we had Oracle, we have Shaman, um, Chief, but now we have Spiritualist, and this is the big monster that we want to go for. Really good on the offense, really good on the defense. A good searcher, and he's protected. He protects and is protected by Necrovalley, and a lot of attack points too. The Cyber Dragons are sighted in to help with Chimera Tech, deal with their hoopla of link monsters and all that. So that's why the two of them are here. I don't know how effective it's gonna work, but they're here. And I didn't get my Chimera. I do have a Chimera. I do have a Cyber End Dragon, but I don't have a Malefic Cyber End Dragon. Otherwise, it would go in here as well. Stardust Dragon is here to banish for the Malefic Stardust. This was actually the downside to this. I was looking for multiple We Witcher Princess before when she came out, but I have to go now look for more because I need a set. Because We Witcher Princess is technically the only Link monster besides Eco Talker I would be running, just because they're dark. If I side in like those in matches, then I want dark to be my primary target. And she's really good on giving the attack and defense to all my dark monsters. She's just a really good monster to have to defend with. And they pretty much just help the deck synergize itself if I'm not locking my opponent out of their own special summons. So for the rest of the deck, just a lot of level 4, rank 4s. Castell, Abyss Dweller, Cowboy, Steel Swarm Roach, a lot of staples from the old days. Number 66, number 101, and number 106. I know these cards may seem old, but sometimes older cards can still do a lot of defense, offensively and defensively. With Gravekeepers, they are a stun deck, so you want as many stun cards and many protection cards as you possibly can, and that's pretty much what I got out of the 7 of these cards. You can switch them around, go for Utopia, go for Exciton Knight if you want to feel risque, and one of the biggest things about Gravekeepers is that they still have a really good rank 4 engine, despite the fact that if you play something like Hidden Temple, then you're kind of screwing yourself out. But you can protect yourself by summoning a lot of teams before you play the Hidden Temple, and then protect the Hidden Temple with stuff like Master Key Beetle, Giant Hand. Still, some Roach is good for those high level monsters. Um, Silent Monarch's a really good offensive and defensive type card. You have Cowboy for the 800 damage, because the time ruling is still something you have to deal with. Abyss Dweller deals with graveyard effects, in addition to Necrovalleys, and then Castell to bounce stuff. So that is pretty much it for this deck profile. I hope you guys enjoy it. I enjoyed making it, and I enjoyed um, putting everything together. If you have any questions, of course, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment, um, all in that order. And pretty much till next time, you guys, this is HTJ signing out. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.